Hi. Star Citizen has once again hurt its players with high expectations and cut back deliveries. Star Citizen 4.0 is thankfully still planned on coming this year, and with it one of the most important updates to Star Citizen ever in server meshing. The second star system will finally be in-game, new factions, new outposts, abandoned space stations, asteroid bases, and more. The update itself isn't small, but with a huge gaping chunk of the more anticipated features being pushed back to another update, the prophecy continues. There will be delays. It is known. And with this update, things are a little bit different for people. Let me explain why. We clearly haven't moved all the way in yet. We're still in the process of getting back set up here, but this was a nice little delay that snuck in here, so I wanted to get you something out real quick. Thank you for coming to this quick news drop. The most obvious downside to the feature delay we are seeing that will undoubtedly have a big mark on the reception of Alpha 4.0 is the engineering update. This is a feature that goes beyond basic Tier 0 implementation. After years of showing off this gameplay, multiple citizen cons explaining its importance, and the consistent debates about how useful or tedium-filled this feature is, it has been delayed at the 11th hour. To add salt to wound, this is also a feature that's been pulling resources from other areas that have to do with ships, things like the flight model, and even ships in development, both new and also the ones on the backlog. It's a bummer to know how much time and effort has gone into this tech just to see it pushed back right before it was due to land in the game. When it does make a comeback, I do hope we see some quality of life additions on top of what we've already seen, and some more ships included in the launch of the feature. Besides engineering gameplay though, we also saw the delay of fire hazards and extinguishers, life support systems, charge and drain functionality, the solar bursts in Pyro, and the transit system refactor. Okay, that last one really sucks. Transit systems aren't just about the trains and flying cars that transport you around the cities, they also include everybody's best friend, elevators. From what we know, this probably would have been the first major refactor to the transit system, including elevators, since Star Citizen 3.0. Refactoring this could rid the game of a lot of the old code and tech debt that creates so many weird issues for us. Add this in with the improved server tick rate seen with server meshing, and we could be looking at a progressively much more stable game environment. But it's not happening, and we'll be stuck without a transit system refactor for the time being. With all these features gone from the roadmap, it is kind of worth asking how many of the initial features from 4.0's proposal are we actually getting, and then also how many have they added on with the different additions they've added over the last 5 months or so. Given the various features that have come into and out of 4.0 compared to what was initially proposed for 4.0, we are receiving about the same number of deliverables. But the gameplay itself, that orange section you see right here, is suffering most from what we've lost. And at the end of the day, a lot of people just want more gameplay in Star Citizen. There's also the fact that not all features are built equal. Ultimately, comparisons like this between features delivered versus what's been told are kind of pointless, as we all want different things. But then there is also the glass half full. The roadmap view at the time of that picture being made, shout out to Odysseus, thank you for these, it didn't include the 3.24.x updates. In these updates, we've also seen a new global event added called Save Stanton. We've seen the RSI Polaris, the Atlas, the Starlancer, and it seems 2 more of the Mark II Hornets. So there have been a solid amount of asset updates here and there, but ultimately 2024 boils down to a year that didn't quite strike as hot as many had hoped, myself included. A lot is changing in Star Citizen this year, some of which some like, and some of which others hate. The flight model, the UI, FPS combat, spawn mechanics, the idea of the game itself, the expectations around Squadron 42, and the number of star systems in the game. A lot has changed, and by the end of the year we may be playing live in a server meshed environment. But another year is passing by without the major shifts to gameplay that many have been waiting for, but not graspable in the near-term future. And this year has been defined by these feature splits. For a little while there, the updates would generally be pretty reliable on the release view, but this year has seen both 3.23 and 4.0, the two major updates of the year, more or less get split into 4 separate ones, and that's not to mention the hopes laid out in 2023 at CitizenCon to get most of what we had seen in the game by the end of 2024, which is likely going to be the 4.0 update, which we are seeing the most significant feature, one that got a lot of stage time at CitizenCon last year, get cut out. But as we round the hill with server meshing and hopefully can look towards a more stable game environment, I can only hope that the team also begins to treat the update process as a more stable one too. Because Squadron 42 is out in the wild. People are going to start paying more attention to it, and I genuinely think they're going to want to have Star Citizen in a pretty good place by the time Squadron 42 does come out. It needs to be playable, it needs to be pretty smooth, and it needs to be enjoyable for folks who are actually looking for games and not just gonna throw themselves at a fun space environment. But that is the key, server meshing, and it's why 4.0 is still a huge deal if it does release this year. So here's a quick update on what it's going to do for the game. No matter what happens, one thing will always remain true about 4.0, from its initial announcement back in 2016 to its spiritual name drop with the server meshing road to release panel in 2018, to the Pyro system's subsequent formal announcement in 2019, and then its formal announcement in 2021, and then its awkward second meeting the next year at Thanksgiving when everyone is asking why you haven't taken things the next step. Yeah, that was 2022. And then a major, final, truly final announcement at CitizenCon 2023, and then kinda just relegated to a single slide in 2024. All those announcements and updates and check-ins all always depended on server meshing, from the very beginning, back before 3.0 was even released. So here, finally, at the end of a very long effort, by a good-sized group of networking and coding geniuses, and a continued effort by said geniuses in the future, server meshing is finally in player hands in Evocati, and with these features being pushed to another release, CIG is signaling to us that they know what needs to be done to reach their time cutoff for 4.0, and so they're doing it. This update is coming out this year, whether it wants to or not, and CIG is going to cut features from the update to get it out with server meshing, whether we want it or not. But to be quite honest, I think it's in our best interest at this point to get server meshing into, please just get server meshing into the game. We've known this from the very beginning. We've known that this is how it's going to be from each and every time 4.0 became a topic again. Server meshing and 4.0 are inseparable. And there's still plenty included in Star Citizen 4.0. The entirety of the Pyro system includes 6 planets, 5 moons, a bunch of towns, outposts, buildings, and space stations scattered throughout the system to fill with factions, individuals, and loot. Contested zones, asteroid facilities to explore, new missions in these new areas, and more. The Zeus MFDs and HUD already made it in as well in 324.2, along with a new global event. This isn't a bad offering for a patch. Not the biggest in terms of content, but with server meshing and an entire new star system added to the game for the first time, hopefully of quite a few more, this is the most significant leap the game has taken since 3.0. While it won't single-handedly solve all of Star Citizen's problems, server meshing will take a star system like Stanton, and instead of putting every player, item, asset, location, and action on the same server, it'll allow 6 different servers or more to handle that same space, improving the load on the back end, bumping up the server tick rate, and allowing systems to run more smoothly. And once this works for the first system, every new system from then on is just adding more load and spooling up more servers for that given shard, raising the player cap, improving performance, and expanding the size of the game. This was the true delay all these years, and if that addition and nothing else was in 4.0, it would still do its job. From here on, the real work to turn Star Citizen from a fun-to-play tech demo to a true-to-the-name MMO begins on the actual tech foundation. This unfortunate step with 4.0 is probably not the best way to kick things off, but server meshing running on live servers is objective number 1. Let's hope they can follow up over the next year with incremental improvements on server meshing, the rest of what was expected throughout 2024. like player traversal improvements, scanning and radar, quantum travel updates and quantum boost, in-game guild-based rewards, and the first iteration of base building. As with every year, we'll look towards next year for what ways gameplay can change. It's an exciting time for Star Citizen players with 4.0 finally reaching the game, but I can't fault players for feeling like it's another time Star Citizen is getting tripped up at the finish line. Thank you for watching this quick piece about Star Citizen 4.0. I will probably be talking a lot more about this at my stream on Monday. We'll be doing a little question and answer, getting caught up on everything that's been going on since the end of CitizenCon, and obviously with our whole move going on right now, we've been a little bit checked out. Obviously, like that, we have plenty more that we need to do, but we are in the midst of moving in with my parents for the next so-and-so amount of time until we can find a place to rent. So, moving into me and my sister's childhood bedrooms, getting this situated, it's gonna look nice and great. It'll have the whole studio vibe, all that stuff. But thank you to all who have reached out during this process. It's been a good time, and we should be back to normal production with everything within the next week or two. Now that we are back though, keep an eye out for more meetups in Northern California area. Join us maybe in the org for some game nights, as we've now moved to an entirely different time zone so we can play at different times with everybody. Oh, and make sure to drop by for our streamathon in a few weeks. A little back in the States streamathon will be celebrating whatever patch is coming out, probably 3.24.3. And that's about it. Thanks again for watching this video. Hope you learned something new in this one, and I will see you in the next.